topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Are you ready to take a journey? Let's connect with the healers of the world. It's that time. It's time for the language of healing on W4CY Radio and Talk4TV. Now here's your host, Emotional Wisdom Training Specialist Nicole Fortin.
Hi everybody. Welcome back to the language of healing. It's Friday, February 4th. Another great week has gone by. Lots of stuff going on. Here in Calgary, we've got, the winter's still hanging on, of course, naturally. Some cold spells, a little bit of Chinook feeling warmth. I really feel the energy of spring coming, and maybe that's just my hopeful, optimistic, something to look forward to get you through the challenging times of winter. But we just went through like the Chinese New Year. And so today, February 4th, is really, they say, the day that the tiger emerges. So we're coming into the year of the water tiger, and we're here. It's happening. And what does that mean? Well, we've spoken a lot about that, or, touched on it in previous episodes in the past few weeks. And January, really talking about intention, getting really clear on what it is that you want and going for it. And that's the tiger energy, the regalness of, like the stoic nature, and that has grace and patience and courage, strength, endurance, foresight. It really knows what it wants. It's good at getting what it wants. And so that's, some of the energy that we're going with, which feels nice after the last couple of years where, just a lot of like emotion stuff kind of coming up. It's like, when you sweep and all that dust comes up and it's like, what am I doing with this dust? And it kind of feels like it's settling in a little bit. We can like clean up a bit more. I really feel that that's the energy we're moving with this coming year. And it's the further exploration, going deeper into, what you're doing something for, like questioning, being curious with your feelings, thoughts, and beliefs. And so, ultimately coming to a place of more balance and alignment, harmony within your body, really balancing left and right brain hemispheres, balancing your masculine, feminine energies, like working with your energetic body a little more too. And that water piece brings in a bit more flow, change, movement. Anyway, and I'm just so excited about this conversation today. Our theme is around free yourself with forgiveness. Yeah, free yourself with forgiveness. Forgiveness is a big one, right? How many of you guys have noticed emotions are running pretty high these days? And maybe you can relate to a time where you were reactive, triggered by something that created a spin cycle in feelings of like anger, frustration, or maybe that spin cycle of self-doubt, lack of confidence. And so anyway, today's guest is Jenna Lobos, and I'm so excited. She's the host of Love Your Body, Love Your Life show that also airs on W4CY Radio and Talk4TV. And so let's just jump on in, because I know this hour is going to go by so fast. So, Jenna's on W4WN, the Women's Network. Amazing. Okay, let's welcome her here, please.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So I've watched, I tune into your show, and I think that you're really great and love the message that you share and have lots of interesting I feel really resonant with your message. And so, so one thing that I wanted was to have this conversation around forgiveness. And you've shown up in my life, and I'm, really curious. You've written this book also called Love Your Body, Love Your Life. And in there you have lots of tips, 52 tips, right? And so, yes, I'm excited to have you here to share some of that.
Thank you. Yeah. The book, it was my first book. I always say I have another book in me. Somehow, some way I will get that out. But, I wrote as much as I could. And, we're here talking about, I think you mentioned, the year of the tiger, Nicole, and moving forward and doing something that we love, and the energy of change and transformation is here after these couple years of the collective actually going through this transformation, right? It's a person, it affects us personally. And I think that in the book, I did hold back. I held back some of my story. And, I know we're going to talk about forgiveness, but I think on the whole, that's a trauma response. And that's something that I still work on today. So my point is, yes, I have 52 tips in there, but I feel like now I'm at a space finally where I'm able to really, I don't know, kind of, it's new for me too, where I'm really owning like my truth. And so, yeah, there it is.
There it is. Nice.
There it is. You can find it on Amazon and on barnesandnoble.com. So for anybody.
Yeah, and that's 52 tips that will help improve your health.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Amazon, Barnes and Noble. I know we're in Canada. Sometimes the link is a little bit off, but yeah, we can put that in the chats. Once this post gets aired, and we can link that in the comments so we can find you. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Anybody can reach out to me too if they want to. I don't know, from Canada. If any of your followers want to reach out, they can.
Yeah, that would be at JennaLobos.com, right?
Yes, JennaLobos.com. And I always share my email, JennaLobos@gmail.com. I mean, I'm kind of an open book at this point. Anybody can reach me.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So on this, I know there's so much to cover here because there's so much. I think there's a lot of meaning when it comes to what is forgiveness, and I think to me, forgiveness means I really connect it with acceptance. It's like, letting yourself off the hook almost in a way, or unhooking from something. But to accept really just means to not resist it, I think. So moving into that place of resistance, and we need the awareness to see what's going on, like to feel what I'm feeling. And, quite frankly, we're not really taught to know how to manage our emotions. And so we just stuff them down, stuff until there's like a big explosion, so this feeling of or being in forgiveness, I think allows more, it's just like pries it open a bit more space, more spaciousness. And so I'm just curious to know what forgiveness means to you.
Yeah, you know what? I'm hearing to share the story and how I came about all this work on forgiveness. So you're talking about, really running from your emotions. So, a lot of people are on autopilot, and they don't really realize, Nicole, that they are running from a lot of stuff. And granted, life is there, and a lot of people are in survival mode, right? We all got to pay our bills. Life is just coming, and you have to just go for it. And a lot of us, like myself, at one point didn't stop enough to really feel what was going on. And how I manifested that, how that looked like for me, was work. I had to really dive into my work at one point. This was like before 2008. So let's say, and I was at the top of my game. I was making great money for myself. I was in the mortgage industry. And anyway, so in 2008, I had met my second husband, and I had already been doing a lot of personal development on myself, and personal development work, and which is called BEST. It's a modality that I've been doing for over 20 years. It stands for Bioenergetic Synchronization Technique. Anyway, so in 2008, I was at the top of my game. I was making a crazy amount of money. I had bought a condo on the beach. I was already dating my second husband, and I think we were engaged at that point. And I felt just like, life is awesome. Like, this is the pinnacle of it. Like, this is everything I wanted. I was happy. I was, engaged. I was in love. I was making money, all this stuff. I had done personal development work on myself. I thought I had it down. And so in 2008, I was invited to a women's circle in LA, and I live in Newport Beach. So LA is about, at least an hour drive on a good day, right? Without traffic. So I drive up to, I think it was in Malibu in LA. I drive up to this women's circle, and there was a BEST practitioner there. Okay. I hadn't worked with her yet. I was working with another couple doing the same work, but she was there to introduce the modality to this circle, which I was very familiar with. So I thought, I'm so familiar with this stuff. I just felt like, I had it all down. So I go in to do my session with her, and I was thinking to myself, like, she's not going to find anything on me. I'm good, And so she starts working on me, Nicole. Her name's Gina. And she starts working on me, and she says, well, we got to get rid of this anger. And I was like, what anger? Like, I'm not angry. I'm happy. I'm good. Like, I had no clue, like, really no clue. Like, I was thinking to myself, I have zero anger. Like, what is she talking about? Anyways, okay. So fast forward, she's my mentor to this day. This was in 2008. And it was all unconscious. All of the anger that was stored in my body was unconscious. And how I was unaware of this was my go, go, go lifestyle. My working out. I was working out like a male at that point. I ran 2 marathons. I was weightlifting. I mean, I was doing it all for the sake of my relationship, the grocery shopping, the cooking, making money. I thought that this was it. I was hiding from myself. And I think I want to mention that because from the outside, and even from myself, I thought, where I have no anger, but it was all stuffed down. I couldn't see it. And first of all, if I didn't have Gina to point it out to me, I would have never even known it was there. And my life would have been just going on autopilot. I would have never been able to heal that part of myself. So what we discovered through a lot of sessions, this didn't happen overnight, right? What we discovered was this anger from my childhood, which I talked about last week on my own show. And it was this 5-year-old girl that was pissed off, to be honest. She was mad. She was sad. She was hurt. She felt abandoned. She was angry. She had all these hard emotions that happened to her at 5 because my dad left. I was raised by my mom. I mentioned, she was a young single mom growing up herself. And so my 5-year-old had to figure it out. She had to figure it out. And she wasn't ready to be an adult. She wasn't ready to be left by the love of her life, which was her dad. And so all these things started to come out up and out, right? So we need to have them reveal so we can heal them. So they were revealing themselves piece by piece. And I started to create the relationship with my inner child with Gina's guidance, which she's, I mentioned this as well on my last show. She's the bestest person in my life today, like hands down.
You gotta love those mentors and teachers. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
They're so they're the most precious, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly wouldn't know where I would be. I definitely wouldn't be here without her guidance and my healing, you know?
Right.
So where am I going with this?
Finish up. Because I also I have some notes, like I can really there's a lot of points here that I thought would be interesting around your stories. But yeah, just go ahead and finish there.
Okay, so I'll just finish this point and I'll let you ask. So with this piece of me healing my inner child, I really had to get the forgiveness work down. And I had to go down the line and start forgiving the most important people in my life. And including, my first husband and, just people that I felt that I needed to have forgiveness around. And I will tell you, Nicole, and I don't know what questions, you're going to ask, but once I started to do this piece, I felt the lightest I had ever felt. I mean, I literally lost weight. I mean, to be honest, I literally shed 10 pounds physically just from the emotional piece of letting go. If that tells any of your audience anything, it's very powerful work. It's not easy. I'm not going to sit here and say it was easy. There were a lot of days where my husband at the time, we were married, would come home and I would be in a fetal position just because I was crying all day or because I had done this deep work. And, and looking back, I thought I was knowing what was going on, but I really didn't have the correct vocabulary to even explain to him what was happening in my healing, because it was such deep work. I just needed to trust the process, and I had to go with the way I was feeling. And the days that I would allow myself that fetal position and those tears and the anger and all the stuff that I needed to actually feel, the following day I was like, I feel amazing. I felt amazing. And I think what happens is that we stuff things down because we're so afraid of those hard emotions. We're so afraid to feel them because we're afraid that something's going to happen to us. Either we're told as a kid, especially as women, you're supposed to be pretty little girls and just always be happy and smiling. And, that's how you're supposed to, get the man or whatever the story is. Right. And so we as women, especially, are not allowed to feel these other anger, and they're ugly. We look ugly. Who wants to look like they're crying all day? I remember waking up at one, so I would know when he was going to come home, my husband. Oh my God, I got to, I fixed myself up as best as I could because I didn't want to show, even at that point, all of what I was feeling. So anyways, I can go off on a tangent.
No, yeah. So when you were in that moment, going through that, some stuff really must have been coming up, revealing itself to be healed. And so you're saying that the practice of forgiveness really made a difference for you in that. And so, and how did that play out for you?
Yeah.
In a practical sense, what kind of...
So I can share my 5 tips.
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm.
Is that what is that your question?
Yeah, that's probably where that leads to. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think for some practicality and some concreteness for whoever's listening, I can share the tips that I went through every single
Yeah.
time this would come up, right?
Because it's like really, it's quite relatable, right? Like, and I think that, it just, that's the explosion part, when we just suppress, and then it just happens occasionally, but then it starts happening like, one thing after another, and then it's every day, and just like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Crash, done, like breakdown. And then this is like where the breakthrough can express itself, or where opportunity for breakthrough.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I think that what I'm hearing in that is that when we're unaware of our stuff, it can look like we're angry at something else, or we're taking it out on something really just little, just minute, like, oh, somebody stole my French fries, and I'm pissed. Now I'm like angry. I'm exploding over something that is so, really, like, you're really angry about that? I don't think so. There's something else going on here. And I think we've all experienced, maybe not all of us, but I know in my personal experience, I've always dealt with people that have made me walk on eggshells. Like, I feel like I'm walking on eggshells. And then it's like, that's really not about me, but I'm feeling this, but it's really about their anger, right? It's their stuff, but I'm feeling it because I'm so empathic. So my point is, to what you just said, Nicole, is yes, if we're unaware of our stuff, it can come out in other ways. And we can also keep attracting the same experience over and over again. In my experience, it's been about relationships. It's been about not good relationships with men, because obviously I just told you what happened to me at 5, right? So in my mind, I have had something wrong with me. I've always had something wrong with me. So that was an unconscious thought. So of course I was going to attract these men that were going to mirror that back to me. Something wrong with you. But really, that was just a story, and I needed to heal that part of myself. So I hope that answers that part. And then I'll share my 5 tips to forgiveness. And I've worked with people, one-on-one with this, and how I experienced it myself. And it's really about, first of all, getting out of your head and into your body, taking deep breaths. I do what's called a central channel breathing technique, and that's in my book. But any kind of like big belly breaths will do. Go ahead.
Yeah, we have a comment pop up here. When we become aware of things, big or little, it opens doors to self-discovery. Yeah, 100%. We live and we learn, and sometimes through mistakes we grow within. Yeah. Oh, and like that growth is like, yeah, like you say, Jenna, like often not comfortable, but it's like rewarding, right? It's like that challenge or that growth, the friction that's created when you have to grow, and I think part of like forgiveness, acceptance is part of the lubrication that helps the friction like ease, gives it space to like, okay, I can just unhook a little bit from that. Yeah. And side note, I can really like, I know, so many of us can relate to that inner child wound that, we don't often look at until much later. And it's like, whoa, all of these things have been repeating itself because and like you said, it takes a mentor or a coach or, someone to help you see the blind spots, because that's what, they're blind spots. You don't really have the awareness. So that's really the first step, is awareness of, how you're feeling, what's going on, what's present, what's real and true, and then working on the acceptance, forgiveness. So
yeah,
I
think what happens, Nicole, especially when we're traumatized as kids, is we go into a protective mode because we have to survive, and we're kids and we don't know anything else other than we got to create something in order to protect ourselves. So then we just go along in life, right? And we are unable to know that part of ourselves, because it's like, it's funny. I've heard this a lot of times where I'm talking to somebody, and I'm so trained now to hear the child in people. So I was talking to a friend recently, a male friend, to be honest. And so he said something, and it kind of triggered that I heard it, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I asked a question about his childhood. It was kind of like a broad question, but I heard something deeper, but I wanted to hear what his response was. And it was interesting because he said, oh, I forgot. I don't remember that.
Mm.
So we forget. And it's, yeah. But
it's like the block, don't want to see that. Just going to put that away. It's a disassociated, dissociated. It's like not even going there.
Exactly. Yeah. And what happens though, and I spoke about this again last week, is yes, we disassociate from that pain. But in that disassociation, we also forget who we really are in that moment and other parts of ourselves. We forget, sometimes in my experience, our talents are what we're really here to be in the world. All of that goes out the door with trauma. So I always give this analogy. It's kind of like you're driving down the road, you're 5, you're 8, you're whatever age a traumatic event happened. And it could be at different stages, right? Because if you come from a traumatic family background, there was a lot of chaos in my family, So you're driving down the road, right? And 5 is here, 8's here, 18's over here. And now you're whatever age, and you're like, how did I get here? How did I have 2 marriages that didn't go right? How did I, lose myself financially? How did I have this become, how did I get this health condition? Oh, and then you kind of stumble upon some sort of healing work, and somebody says something about childhood, and you're like, oh, maybe does that have something to do with me? So I always say that we have to kind of go back in that road and reclaim ourselves, like kind of actually see it, pick it up and reclaim it, and be like, the buck stops here.
I'm taking you with me now. Yeah, you're coming along. Yeah. Okay, we have another comment. Trauma can suppress how we express ourselves as well. Yeah, like being a singer. Yeah, for sure. It stops us from moving forward with what we truly desire, because we're just so like hurt, and it's scary to step out, to really be like, I can really relate to that. I mean, I was like mostly just very passive, kind of like shy, like never wanted to be seen either, right? Because you're just never good enough. You're, that's my fault, or whatever beliefs, I'm stupid. Those kinds of things will often pop up too. Like you can hear that when it's that inner child stuff, it's really like, I'm dumb, or like something very simple language, right? That's like, it's like somewhere that belief was formed. And yeah, it's very empowering when we can like take those pieces with us. And now we're like, okay, you're along for the ride. Like, I see you, I love you, you matter, and now, and I loved, this is what you said, something in a previous episode, around taking that like parent role, now you're like, well, now I'm responsible for you, we're doing this together. So, but I love that you added like listening in, like, what does she want to do that day? Or, that little tip. I don't know if that's one of your tips here. So
that's exactly what I always say to people, like whoever comes to work with me. I always say, like, start creating that relationship. Like, really, truly, it really takes 5 minutes of your day, just get into your body, get out of your head, really picture her when she's, I'm going to talk about me, of course. When I was 5, I did this for probably a whole year, Nicole, obviously with my mentor's support, I would say. I saw myself as a 5-year-old. Yeah, I asked her every day, like, okay, how are you? I'm checking in. How are you feeling? And like I mentioned in my show, there were some days where she was like, I don't want to work. Like I said, she was she wanted to play. She felt like she didn't get a childhood. She grew up too fast. Of course, she didn't want responsibility. But at that point in my life, I had to kind of become the adult and take control and say, tell her like, okay, we have to work today, but at the end of the week, we'll go and we will, we'll shop, or we'll get our hair done, or we'll get our nails done, or we'll do something that you love, to kind of, calm her down. Cause some days she was mad, and, also that can look like, for me, my like acting out was exercise. I would go run like 5-10, like, I'm not even kidding. I'm not exaggerating. Like, I would go run 5-7 miles to get all this energy out of my body. And that obviously wasn't the healthiest, because there was no balance. Other people's acting out could be eating sugar all day, binge watching TV, shopping, spending too much money, taking your emotions out on your kids, whatever it is, so it's like, you really have to get in there with your that traumatic little person inside of you. And like I always say, like, you're a team now. You and her are a team. Nobody can harm you anymore. Nobody can come and take anything away from you anymore. And that's what she needs to start hearing and trusting. And you, as the adult, are responsible for the boundaries for other people, right? To take care of her. To take care of her. Whatever that looks like for you, whatever that taking care of is, everybody's different, but I feel like what that is. What that is, that taking care of. For me, my lessons still are around boundaries with other people. I've had very much controlling people in my life, dominating people in my life. And I'm the same way, Nicole. Like, I'm naturally very shy, believe it or not. Like, I am naturally very shy. I'm quiet. I listen. I'm a listener versus a talker. I'm the same way, where I don't want to be seen and heard. Mm-hmm. So it's taken me a lot to, like I said in the beginning, to get to this point, to want to share my personal experiences to help other people heal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a beautiful story. Yeah. I'm so thankful. Thank you for sharing with us. And I'm just thinking, like, this is really where the forgiveness and acceptance piece comes in, in my perspective, where, we first have to have the awareness of it, and then moving into a place of acceptance versus resistance. And then when you create a bit of space, you gain clarity. And I think that's where the boundary comes in. Then it's like, oh, now I see, like, oh, maybe I do need a little bit of space, like, or I don't know, the examples right now are escaping me, but like, it's, okay. It's just like working, like, no, you come home, you need that space if you're with, a partner or something like that, or in a family dynamic. It's like the boundary of saying yes to yourself, often means saying no to others. And the more you say yes to yourself, you increase your value. And I think through that forgiveness, you do gain clarity, and then the boundaries that follow. it's kind of my take and like what I, I don't know, try to work with as well. Like what more information can you gather, right? Because the more you see, the more you gather, the more you listen and hear, you get more of the picture, right? So there's always more going on than we really realize. And
Absolutely. And
yeah.
relationship dynamics are hard because we tend to think it as selfish, right? Especially as women, because we are overgivers normally. We are the caretakers of the family and, of our partners, our male partners, or, our children, or our elders, or, we're normally the givers, right? And so we, especially in family traditions, I'm a Latin, I come from a Latin family. And so there's a Latin tradition, like we have our elders, we're we have to take care of people, and this is the way it is. And so we get in our head about, well, this is like selfish of me. Why should I need my own time? Why should I need alone time? It's not selfish.
Right. Yeah.
It
actually keeps you, it actually like fuels you instead of draining you. And you need that fuel. Like you can't just go on with life without recharging your phone or, or not like fueling up your gas tank. It's the same practical thing. Like this is a very practical exercise. Another comment. Awesome. Hi, Heather. I can relate to the chaotic childhood. Jenna, is inner child work the premise of what you teach, or are there other methods of your practices? Yes. I'll let you go ahead with that.
Thank
Jenna.
you. Thank you for that question. Inner child work is a big piece because I think that I always say our inner child has so much wisdom to share with us. There are probably parts of yourself, Heather, that you haven't even tapped into. I talked about this last week on the show. Once I healed my inner child, I was waking up at like 1 to 3 in the morning, and poetry would just be pouring out of myself. Like I have books of poetry that turned into songs, which turned into my voice. I sing now, and I am talking here. But to answer her question, inner child is a big part of my work. But I do have the forgiveness piece, and then there's other breath work techniques. We get into some nutritional guidelines as well. And it's just, it's all obviously encompassing. It's not just, one piece inner child, but I do spend a lot on that because I feel like, again, the child in us is so innocent and honest and open that she has so much to offer. And I think once you heal and start listening to that piece of yourself and really going there and diving in, there are things that might flourish for you that you haven't even discovered. So again, it's all encompassing. I have steps and, breath work and other things that, on a personal one-on-one situation, we could tap into. That's actually my forte. I feel like one-on-one work with me. I know I've had big breakthroughs with people. So if anybody wants to reach out, I'm happy to work one-on-one. And I will be, like we talked about, Nicole, and to talk to Heather as well. I am going to be putting together a workshop to start, having it interactive and teaching these forgiveness techniques and a little bit inner child. And it's just going to be, a workshop so we can all, work together. And I always feel, especially with women, we all have a personal story, and we all learn from each other if we're willing and able to be vulnerable and open. So yeah. And I'm an open book. So yeah.
Many books to come too, I'm sure.
Maybe one more. Writing books is a lot. It's a big
Yeah,
job.
I wanted to ask you about that. I know we're kind of like wrapping up to time here.
Okay.
But okay, one comment that I wanted to bring up today, based on listening to your story, and for anyone who wants to listen to Jenna's story or the episode that she's referring to, it's on her podcast YouTube channel at Love Your Body, Love Your Life. That's the name of the show, right?
Yes.
And so you can go back and look at that. And yeah, there she is. Live Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern. Yeah. So we can link that as well. Okay, you mentioned, and you just brought it up again, the waking up between 1 and 3 a.m. Because from a Chinese medicine perspective, that is the time of the liver. And this happens a lot. So I thought it would be interesting to speak a little bit to it, because when the liver, the whole nighttime loop is a very cleansing, restorative time for us. And if we don't, it's also a very creative time. So if we don't, number one, get to sleep at a certain time, it's easy to just stay up all night in this energy of in your head, thinking, obsessing. So that's kind of a bit of like we'll see that in a week system. That's not quite normal, but lots of creative people, artists are on that time zone. They do their best work at night. So it just depends on everybody's different, right? But that waking up at like 1 to 3 a.m. is the time of the liver where it's like it's peak time of cleansing, restoration, and it's very much processing your rational mind with your emotions. So I think if there's a bit of a kink in the chain, you're gonna be jolted out of your rest at that time. And because 3 a.m. is really technically the start of a new day. So then it moves into the energy of the lung, which breathes in the new day. And then it moves into the energy of the large intestine. So it gets rid of what's not needed anymore. So you mentioned losing weight, like actually getting rid of weight through forgiveness and healing. And yeah, literally like being able to process, break apart the rational, emotional mind, like work with the emotions in a healthy way, breathe in new space from that forgiveness space, and then able to let it go. It's processed. And that liver energy really lives in the head. So it's like you talk about being in your head, needing to get back into your body. Yeah. So all of that stuff is happening. And I know that I see it a lot in practice. People are awake at that time. And I always find it very interesting. It's like, well, you're working through stuff, So I always say that the best thing really is to journal or write. Like the liver energy likes to be the organizer. It likes to have lists. It likes to move. It likes to stretch. So stretching exercise is really good. Like imagine you're a tree reaching for the sun, growing. So I just thought that really complemented nicely, with my background too. Yeah. I mean, it's all connects, but just wanted to add that little tidbit because there's, again, so much more going on than we realize, and our bodies and our systems are incredibly wise, inherent. And just the more that we listen to it and learn the language of healing, we can move forward with more ease. And yeah. So anything that you want to finish up with, Jenna?
I think that just on that note, I would just encourage and invite everyone to, take 5-10 minutes of their day and drop into their body. We do live in our heads a lot. And I think that if any of your guests are open and wanting to start exploring more of who they are, then it does live in the heart and the gut for the most part. So I think it starts there, just getting into your body. Of course, if you can hook up with some sort of mentor or person or even a friend, a trusted friend, to start, expressing some stuff that you feel is necessary, then I would encourage that as well. And I'm always here to any of your listeners. Like I said, I'm absolutely available. So
yeah, we just got a note from Heather. Thank you so much for taking, addressing and talking to her, Jenna. It's great because we all learn from each other. Thanks, Jenna. I'll tune into your shows. I purchased your ebook, and we'll dive in and see. I don't see the comment anymore. I'm sorry. I couldn't read the rest of that. Oh, see what's there for me. I agree. There's more to me than what I've allowed to show through yet.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, Heather. Then, awesome for even knowing that and being open to exploring it, because, I can't cookie cut this work, especially if there has been traumatic childhood or, a traumatic family, which I can relate to. It's not an easy road, but I can guarantee you that it's worth it, Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's so many layers, right? Like you could be on this journey for a really long time. And I think, and this is what, referring to the water tiger year at the beginning, like this is a time to really, just jump like 2 feet in, commit yourself and just commit to that growth and that expansive awareness that will really support you in moving forward and getting more of what you want. And look at these beautiful photos. Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
Roxy's awesome. She's just put some photos on the screen of Jenna. Beautiful, gorgeous woman inside and out. Yeah. And quite a fascinating journey. Yeah, it's really good to meet you this, just in the recent weeks and serendipitous connections. And this is about community this year. It's like, let's build community where we support each other and create a space that's trust, where trust and support is like a high value, right? And freeing yourself, by choice, not by chance, just by choice, choosing forgiveness, choosing acceptance.
Yeah. I didn't get to share my 5 tips. So just anybody that wants to reach out, I am going to do a group session. So I will definitely be going through all that in my group. That
would be great. Yeah, we covered a lot of ground, and sorry we didn't get to the, we can carry this conversation on again. So thanks so much. Have a wonderful weekend, Jenna, and to our listeners. What will you take with you from this conversation that will support you for the rest of your life? Thanks.
Wow, what a show today, and the journey does not stop here. Come travel the world with Nicole every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time as together we become more fluent in the language of healing on W4CY Radio and Talk4TV. See you next week.